Hi, my name is Mark Fearnot. I'm a monetary economist. And in this video, I'm going to talk about some economic news and some geopolitical news. First, let's start with the good news for Ukraine economically. Have you ever been flying over the U.S. or flying over the transatlantic flight, and the first thing, when you're coming back from Europe, the first thing you see is a little piece of Canada. And you're like, yeah, I made it. Whew, at least I could land somewhere in Canada. That's how I feel when I'm flying back from Europe to America. What does that have to do with economics? Everything. The Canadians, I can't believe I'm saying this, Mary NG, went to Brussels, going to Brussels, meeting with Brussels about setting up an economic union with the European Union. They already have trade agreements and everything, but let me explain. We're talking oil and gas pipelines, transatlantic oil and gas pipelines. Somehow, these engineers are looking at ways to connect a little bit of Canada to Europe. Can you imagine if that happened? Unintended consequences. This is what happens when you tick people off. One thing in business, if you guys have ever been in business, flying beneath the radar and being just a little bit cavalier and smiling at your boss and smiling at people, it gets you pretty far. Ticking people off, like, a bull in a china shop, doesn't do you very good for your longevity in terms of career. And that's the way it is economically. The Canadians are looking to connect Europe in some sort of way, oil and gas. Can you imagine if that happens? That's diversification. Second thing that happened, in France, for 20 minutes, the fusion experiment worked. They were able to create this self-sustaining fusion energy, which was a net positive for a relatively long time. This just happened. I know you've heard about fusion and all the contraindications of nuclear fusion, but this time it seems to be working. It's on the table. Another good news. Winter's almost over. It's getting warmer. Look at me. I mean, it feels like summer here. It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit, probably like 9 degrees Celsius, something like that if you do the conversion. When do you consume the most oil and gas? You consume it in the winter. Russia's gravy train is over. Their oil and gas highest peak consumption revenue generation, it's done. We've got another 9-10 months of relatively low oil and gas consumption. Of course, you've got oil and gas consumption by industry. That's another issue. And if Trump keeps on ticking off the whole world, it looks like we're going to go into a recession. And oil and gas, no matter where you are, China or the U.S., generally tends to go down. You remember what happened in 2021. Low demand, low prices. Okay, so it would be great only if Russia was running out of money. Oh, which they are. There have been talks and there have been reports that their national wealth fund is depleted. They're out of gas. So we've got triple whammies going on. Canada talking about an oil and gas pipeline to the EU. We've got fusion going on in France. We've got the end of the heating and the heating season around the world. We've got potential for decreased or slumping demand. Certainly China's economy is not doing as much as they say it's doing. And now we have some great geopolitical news. Maybe I was a little hard on Duda yesterday. He flew to States. Trump made him wait for like an hour and 20 minutes just to, kind of show him who's boss. I'll tell you what, Poland doesn't like that. Prime Minister of Poland, Foreign Minister of Poland have clearly stated they are for Ukraine, and Poland is going to continue that support. Now they're already warming to a European army. More good news. Germany, the Christian Democratic Union, Merz, they won 28+% of the vote. Doesn't sound like a lot, but that's the European parliamentary system. The AfD, the Russian party in Germany, also won about 20%. But it looks like there hopefully will be a grand coalition to do an end run around them. Germany has kind of this horseshoe politics. Christian Democratic Union is kind of an interesting party. I'm not going to go deep into that. But the horseshoe politics, meaning a little bit on the right and the left, are kind of in sync. The Green Party are probably one of the strongest supporters of Ukraine. Yeah, those hippies out there, I understand it. They're for peace, love, and justice. Yeah, but we'll see how it all works out. They're not going to form it with a Green Party. They may form it, but there's a few other parties, SPD and etc., that they may form it with. So it looks like Germany, we can't say for sure, can't count our chickens before it hatches. They're on board. France is on board. Trudeau is on board. They're all, and obviously Ursula, this is just a great leader in Europe, is on board with strengthening Europe. Unintended consequences. Take off Europe, it gets stronger. Take up Canada, it joins the strong and the right and the good. So don't worry, light will win over darkness. This ruble is going up a little bit. It's only because they feel that somehow Washington is going to spin an unfair deal with Ukraine. But Zelensky says it's not going to happen. He says, I'm into the end, unless you give me NATO. Give me NATO, then he declares victory. So the more Ukraine can stretch it out, the weaker the Russian bear gets. The Russian economy, I've mentioned, everybody's saying, when is it going to collapse? Oh, the ruble's going up. You wait. If there's no quick negotiation, June 30th, right after June 30th, Russia just starts to crumble. They're losing momentum on the front lines. I know they're pushing hard in Donetsk, but there's a lot going on behind the scenes you don't understand about military tactics. A lot of time, Ukraine gives up land to save lives. And in the meantime, they're ramping up their drone production. I think it's like, I heard the quote 85%, okay, Georgie from Ukraine said that, of Russian casualties are drone casualties. I don't know if that's true. But if that's indication of a trend, Ukraine pulling back a little bit on the front lines, it's quite okay why Ukraine amps up their drone production. And it's not linear, it's exponential. So we've got a lot of positive things happening here. We've got on the other hand, we've got Manafort, this Russian oligarch who's kind of pressuring Putin. He's probably kind of pressuring him to, increase, to do something drastic. Don't worry, it's not going to happen. The main thing you have to know is Poland stands strong, Ukraine stands strong, Europe stands strong, and there's a lot of people in America, like I said, Washington isn't a representation of America. There's a lot of people in America that support Ukraine. And remember, Europe, according to some statistics I looked up, if you include humanitarian aid, they've given humanitarian and actual aid hitting the ground 300% more than the U.S. Again, I can fact check this. So there's a lot of good news. I know it's been 3 years, or it's supposed to be 3 days, according to Moscow, but it's been 3 years. And Ukraine's not going away. Poland supports Ukraine. Germany supports Ukraine. Denmark supports Ukraine. Estonia supports Ukraine. France supports Ukraine. UK supports Ukraine. Norway supports Ukraine. Switzerland supports Ukraine. Finland supports Ukraine. Don't worry about the size of the country. I've said it before. 1776, the United States of America beat England twice, 1812. And there's many other instances where freedom-loving people defeat. You can't stamp out an idea. All right. So let's watch this Canadian, see if they can build this pipeline to Europe. Europe has a lot of wealth. And, once they start to get organized, once they get into business, a lot of bright people here. Like I've mentioned, Poland has probably one of the highest education levels in all of Europe. You've got to watch out. So good things are coming. My name is Mark Biernat. I'm a monetary economist. Have a beautiful day. Enjoy this start, almost spring-like weather. Thank you very much.